Hello, it's Shane Willis. Welcome to this week's episode of How's the Market, Pensacola. So last week of September, actually the first week of October, and we're actually starting fall. But I'm going to ask a couple of favors. Can somebody please tell the weatherman that we have started fall? Because what have we been having? Record heats? It's been crazy in the high 90s. Now, tomorrow being October, it's just nuts. So if somebody can get a hold of Channel 3 and let them know they need to fix that, I'd appreciate it. I did want to reach out at the beginning of the show this time to find out if there are any clients I have not reached out to. If you are a past client of mine and we haven't spoken in the last month and a half, drop me a comment or send me a message inside of Facebook because I have a client appreciation event coming up here in a few weeks. And I want to make sure that you got your invite because it's going to be epic. But we're not here to talk about that just yet. And we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about real estate. Let's go.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there, and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?
All right, so as we do every week, I always start off with this slide so everybody get a good baseline, especially those who have never watched the show. If you have between 6 and 7 months worth of inventory, you have what's called a neutral market. Anything greater than 7 months is considered a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months is considered a seller's market. If it's under 3 months, it's a hyper seller's market. And if it's over 9, it's considered a hyper buyer's market. So let's see where our counties are right now. This is Escambia County. Looks like, for those of you who hadn't seen the show, this is the list price. Over here is these months inventory. So that's how that first slide comes into play. So it looks like anything under 300,000 is considered a hyper seller's market because that's under 3 months inventory. I was talking with someone last night about the 200 to about 220 is where we're thinking on his property. It's 2.4 months worth of inventory. So it's definitely hyper sellers as we speak right now. And he's got a pretty good location too. So I know we'll be able to push that price just a little. So anything under 300 is considered a hyper sellers. That same little gap here is weird. Between 4 and 450 is considered a sellers. Actually, anything 450 to 300 is considered a sellers. And this was a hyper sellers last week. So I have a feeling maybe some new builds come up to actually just bump it up to a sellers instead of a hyper. But between 4 and 450 is a sellers, almost a hyper sellers, and between 450 and 500 is a buyers. It's interesting that bumps that much that quickly. That's not normal. We don't normally see that. So this would be considered a buyers. I know it's neutral, but we said anything over 7 months is considered a buyers. So 8 months is considered a buyers. 7.9 is considered a buyers. 6 to 650, we're going to call a neutral. We're going to call it neutral. So if you'll look, between 500 and 450 is a buyer's market. That's not a hyper buyer, so don't get crazy with the offers. But we can see, and you'll look here, like the 500 to 550, the list sale ratio goes down. A lot of these are 98, 99, 100%. List sale ratio goes down to 97. 550 to 600, list sale ratio goes down to 96. And some of that is skewed because some of the agents actually will reduce the list price before they put it under contract. I think that's kind of skewing the numbers some, but I'm not here to jump on any of my cohorts. But if you look, yeah, these just kind of come down. So you start to see the buyers. You can get a little aggressive. Here's where you don't want to go, hey, you're asking 500,000, I'll offer you 400. No, that's 20% under. All right, that's just going to piss somebody off, quite frankly. And then between 650 and above, it is definitely a hyper buyers, although this has come down to under a year's inventory now. I don't think that's because we have people under contract. I think we're just losing listings. They're kind of dropping off and people are waiting until next year to sell them. So that's Escambia County. Let's take a look at Santa Rosa County. And it's just going nuts in Santa Rosa County. Look at this. Anything under $500,000 is considered a hyper seller's market right now. And we're getting between 98 and 99%, up to 100% of list price. Now I say that, and I want to say that cautiously because I had a buyer that made an offer, and we offered 98.9% of what the seller was asking, and they refused. And basically the agent quoted that, hey, it's a hyper seller's market. I don't know if they watched the show or not, but they kept saying, hey, it's a hyper seller's market. So no, you either give us 100% of what we're asking, or we're just going to keep it on the market. If you're a seller in this hyper seller's market, you need to understand that negotiations still happen. Some people are going to get over list. Once you start getting into 350, 400, If you notice, things are listing at 99, 300 to 350, 98 to 99% of list price. So when you start getting an offer at 98.9%, if you refuse and only go 100%, I have a feeling your property is just going to sit. This conversation happened about 3.5 weeks ago with my client, and I looked just before I shot the show, and the property is still active. I think it's just going to sit. Buyers are still going to want to negotiate some. So you need to price accordingly. If you got to pull one of those retail deals where you mark up just a little bit so that you can come down some and call it a sale, so be it. There's a psychological factor that is a seller, and buyers need to understand as we come into these price points that you're not going to get 5% off. You're just not. It's a hyper seller's market all the way up to $500,000. Still a seller's market between 5 and 550. 550 to 600 is classified as a buyer's, but 600 to 650 is back to a seller's. All right, and then you've got a buyer's at 650 plus, but barely. I mean, barely. You're almost at a neutral market. So again, these things are selling 98% of list price. All right, between 650 and 700 is selling between 98% of list price. So remember that as you come in to make your offer. And also remember, this list sales ratio does not take into consideration any concessions for closing cost. Okay, so sometimes when we go a little over list, but we ask for some of the money back, in essence, we're getting into this range. But this report doesn't take that into consideration. So I say all that to say, if you're thinking about doing anything over the next 12 months, I have had, I think yesterday, I've had clients from 6 years ago reach out going, hey, been holding this as a rental for a while. Think it's about time to liquidate. I'm going to retire from the military. That was last night. And then I've had calls already from people going, hey, I think we are looking at May. I think we're looking at March. I need to start listing. So what do we need to do? So we're starting to come up with game plans now. So if you have any inclination or any possibility of selling, give me a call. Drop me a note here. We'll take a look. Obviously, it doesn't cost you anything for me to take a look, figure out what we could do, what you could possibly get. These are just generic for the county, but at least this is a good starting point so you can understand this. If you haven't subscribed, if you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't subscribed over to the Facebook page, get over there, facebook.com/Shane Willis, the Realtor. I put this up every week. That way you can get this information weekly. Probably wouldn't hurt to subscribe to the YouTube channel too, huh? Anyways, I hope this helps. I give you just this information. I'm not trying to be biased on it. It's just raw data so you can make good decisions for you and yours. Have a great week.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there, and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth.
On a mission.
Don't you just want the truth?